1999 through 2006 BMW X5 lower control arm and ball joint replacement. I'm Brian Nessa from How to Automotive. I'm going to walk you step by step through that process. We'll get started by jacking your vehicle up and removing the front two tires. If you're doing this at home, use floor jacks and jack stands. So we're going to be replacing the passenger and the driver's side lower control arms and the ball joints. We'll start by removing the lower ball joint first. You're going to need an E12 torque socket and a semi-wobble socket extension. And so you'll remove the first bolt, which is pretty easy to get to. And then the next bolt, you'll have to twist the arm or flex the arm out of the way to get the E12 socket onto the bolt. To make quick work of this, I'm going to use my Milwaukee M18 fuel cordless impact gun. This happens to be 3/8 drive. This little gun packs a punch and makes jobs like this a breeze. I'll leave a link for this in the description of the video, and also I'll leave a link for all the parts I'm using in the video. Once you get the bolts removed, then you're just going to take a hammer like this and strike the top of the control arm, and then the ball joint will pop out like this. Now we're going to remove this bottom shield here to gain access to some of the bolts. So you're just going to follow the perimeter around and remove the 8 and 10mm bolts all the way around the perimeter and lower the shield down. Now you're going to need a 21mm wrench, 21mm socket, and a ratchet. I like to use the 1/2-inch drive on this particular one. And back up the inner bolt with the wrench, and then the outer portion of it behind the shield here, you'll use the ratchet and socket. And there's just enough room to loosen up the bolt and pull the bolt out without removing any of the further splash shields or anything on the passenger side here. Once you get it unbolted, you can go ahead and work the bolt out. And when you take it out, you want to be careful. The control arm will drop straight down and fall out, so be prepared to catch it. To get the driver's side control arm out, it's going to hit this cover here. So we need to come around here, and what we're going to do is flip the inner fender well up like this. And then right up inside the inner fender well, there's going to be two 8mm bolts. You're going to remove those 2 bolts. And then that's going to give us enough room to flex the air duct here out of the way so we can get the bolt out. So I was unable to flex the lower control arm out of the way to get to the bolts here. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and remove the control arm bushing portion of it out first. So go ahead and take this bolt out. And like you flex the air duct out of the way and pull the bolt out. Now you can pull the arm down and through. Now you can have more room to flex the arm left or right to get to access to the E12 bolts. Before we install new ball joints, I like to take a little sandpaper and clean up the spindle here of any debris that may be in there. And I'll do this on passenger and driver side, and this will aid in the ball joints sliding right into place. So I'm going to be using these Febby ball joints, and they're the same part number left and right. I will leave a link in the description of the video for these ball joints. That way if you guys need to pick those up, you can find those there. Before we install the ball joints, we're also going to put a little bit of blue thread locker on the bolts that bolted the ball joints in. And this is a little glue to help prevent the bolts from vibrating loose and coming back out. I'll leave a link in the description of the video for the thread locker and the ball joints. So you'll position the new ball joints into the spindle here. Then you can tighten the 2 bolts down to 44 foot-pounds. Now we can match our left and right control arms up. I will be leaving a link in the description of the video for both of these lower control arms. And these are going to be the part numbers here. After matching your control arm up, you can start it on the ball joint and start the nut, but don't tighten it, just loosely start it. Next we'll swing the whole control arm up into the mounting bracket on the subframe here. Then we'll slide the mounting bolt through the bracket on the subframe through the control arm. And you want to make sure that you put blue thread locker on the bolt that goes through the control arm too. Working on the driver's side here, you'll have to flare the air duct out of your way to push the bolt through. So if your bolt hole doesn't quite line up when you go to put the bolt through, what you're going to do is grab the control arm, and you can either pull the arm or push the arm back or forth, and then push it up or down to line up the hole, and then you'll slide the bolt through. Now we can torque the lower ball joint portion down. So you'll use your torque wrench and torque it down to 60 foot-pounds. Now that you got the ball joint torqued down, you can torque down the inner portion of the bolt and nut here. and that's torqued down to 120 foot-pounds. And you'll duplicate the same process on the opposite side. So the lower ball joint is torqued down to 60, the upper portion of it's torqued down to 120 foot-pounds. Once you got those all torqued down, then you can go ahead and put your bolt that holds the two screws to hold the air duct back in, the two 8mm, so go ahead and bolt that back up. After you re-secure the air duct, you can go ahead and put the lower shield back into place and follow it around the perimeter, installing the 8 and 10mm bolts. And that'll complete the job of replacing the lower control arm and ball joints on a 1999 through 2006 BMW X5. This is the E53 model. I'm Brian Eslick from How To Automotive, and I'd like to thank you guys for watching my videos. Encourage you to subscribe. Invite you to head over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this, and also to remind you that I will be linking up all the parts and tools that I use in the video. So if you need any of those, you can find them there. Thank you again for watching.